I have been looking at these things for 42 years. In 1999, I took a bioterrorism and preparedness class. And then at 9/11, I was called by Tufts to speak at their expo to sort of navigate people about bioterrorism and preparedness. So I feel like when it comes to this particular area, I've been preparing for it for 42 years. So I hope that my knowledge and my consciousness about what's happening here with the coronavirus will be understood and respected, because I've been thinking about this for 42 years. So because I'm immune compromised and because I have a weak lung, we need to pay attention to things that will help your immune system and protect your body.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Jonathan Lau, and we're talking with obviously an expert here in Dr. Margot Roman from Hopkinton, Massachusetts, correct? And you guys you just mentioned to me a few minutes ago, you guys have quite a few cases of coronavirus there currently. Is that right?
Yeah, we have a lot of people that are that have been tested positive. I think there's 160 at this point in the county that have been tested positive. So people are self-isolating, and my practice has been reduced down to just emergency stuff.
What do we know, or do we really know anything about how it might affect pets and which ones might be more susceptible?
Well, the pet part is still, there was a dog in Hong Kong that tested positive in the very beginning. And I just got an update from the AVMA a few minutes ago, and they're still saying that they have no information about whether it affects animals at all. So we don't know, but I think that if you have it or you've been exposed and your animal, you've been petting and kissing your dog, like I pet and kiss my dogs and cats, then maybe, if somebody had that virus, it could easily just live on the hair coat of an animal for a while. And you don't want to be Purelling your dog. I don't think that's a good idea. But again, it's just making consciousness that, hugging a dog that somebody else has just hugged that could have it could be a contagion. I mean, it's possible. So just, limit that too as well. If but your own animals, don't let everybody on the block hug your dogs, right? It's just as much as them hugging you.
And I read that article that you referenced. I believe I read it out of the Washington Post, I think, about the dog in Hong Kong. And in that, there was a scientist, researcher, who was mentioning that it seems, or there's maybe evidence to suggest that primates would be more likely to carry it or to be infected than dogs and cats, but that cats would even be less than dogs. Do you know anything? What would you say about that?
Well, we have a coronavirus vaccine, whether it's related at all to this corona. And corona is just a type of virus. I mean, we have, in a normal human being, there are 100 trillion microbes.
You said we have a corona vaccine. We don't.
Vaccine for dogs, yes. It's a corona vaccine, but it may not even be the same thing.
Okay.
It was included in the multi vaccine. It was a DHLPP and corona. And then they determined that dogs don't get corona. So it's sort of, to have a vaccine that I don't think the dog vaccine is something that would work on the people. You have to specifically get that particular virus if you're going to make some type of vaccine for it. So, would a dog's coronavirus protect him from corona? I don't know if I would even go out on that limb at all and say that. I stopped using that corona vaccine probably 20 years ago because they said there really was no coronavirus problem in dogs at that point. So, or more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So it's something that maybe there is, maybe there is some type of a cross protection, but I don't think anybody, has said anything about that. But can animals get this? Of course, animals can get our viruses. I mean, to say that when you get the flu and your dog is sick too, could your dog be getting some form of it? To me, it's like, I think anything is possible.
So what would maybe be the place of ozone therapy in your mind, as far as how to use it with the fears that are out there with coronavirus?
Yeah. So, I looked into ozone for my horse for cancer in 2003, and it opened up an entire whole idea of how to protect the immune system. If I have a way of killing viruses and bacteria and phages, and then in an area just doing that and then flooding it with oxygen, there's nothing that would be better than that. There's no antiviral that will do that. You want something that repairs the body after it does what it does to damage it. And because ozone kills on contact viral particles and bacteria and phages and yeast, and it breaks it because of the cell wall. It kills these organisms, and we are left with a area that's sort of blown out, and then you can get healthier stuff to come in there.
So we know that ozone is antiviral, antibacterial. It has those properties, and
Hmm.
systemic antibiotics as well. But that's the difference between the two that you're saying, or one of the differences, is that systemic antibiotics is overwhelming the good and the bad bacteria in the body in a negative overall net, negative effect to the
Hmm.
body, whereas ozone therapy is producing a net positive effect on the body. Is that
Right. We had a kennel that broke with parvo about 5 years ago, and they had 20 dogs. One of the dogs, there was a sled dog breeder, and one of the puppies, who was like 9 months old, who had 3 parvo vaccines, was taken to an ER, and they said, we've spent $3,000. We cannot save your puppy. You need to euthanize this puppy. And so she had called me and said, would you look at my dog? And you helped me years ago when I was a kid, and this is my own dog. So she brought the puppy down, and I thought it was dead. I couldn't see it breathing, but then I could see it breathing. Its anal tone was completely flaccid. Its gums were white as a sheet. It's subnormal temperature. And I wouldn't let it even come into my building. I just treated it in the back of the car. And we did ozone. We did UVBI with the chimp. We did, we gave it vitamin shots. I gave it a fecal transplant, rectal ozone before, and then a fecal transplant. And I told her whole entire kennel had been tested. They're all positive. And one of the mothers of a litter of puppies was at the ER. And I told her to take this puppy back to New Hampshire, where she lived, isolate it. Don't let it even near these other dogs. Don't go. She said, I have a back entrance. I'm going to go to the 3rd floor. I'll put the puppy there, and I'll take a shower, change my clothes, come downstairs. And she did that. And she was making dinner for everybody, and that puppy was downstairs wanting to eat, had come down the stairs, got out of the box, came down the stairs, and was wanting to eat. This was a dog that was dead about 4 hours before.
wow.
So with that parvo, all the puppies, I sent home ozonated saline and fecal transplants for all these puppies, and the whole kennel. The only one that died was the mother, who never got the treatment,
Mm,
who was in the ER. So from that experience, I'm
mm,
trying to share that and say, if we can get ozone to be given rectally or intravenously to reduce the viral load, increase oxygenation of the cells, increase mitochondrial function where we can in the stem cells, and then introduce new healthy microbiome rectally, would be ideal to be helping people. But
mm,
that's something that has not been done that I know anywhere. But from my experience looking at parvo, which is a really, really very, very contagious
mm,
and very deadly dog disease, it seemed to work for that.
mm. Would you encourage people to do that prophylactically
Ozone? Oh yeah.
for them and their
So I
pets? Or
well, I've been telling all my clients for the last 2 months to buy an ozone generator. I've been telling them to get it anyway for years. But to get an ozone generator to have in your house, to make ozonated water, to be able to have it if you're isolated in your house, to be able to actually be proactive and doing something that actually helps your body, to be able to do something simple like give yourself ozonated, make ozonated water, put it into stethoscope and blow it in your ear so it's going in your sinuses and coming up and getting into a little bit into your lungs through the olive oil. That I think is a really positive thing, because the ozonides will kill the virus as well. So you're putting it through olive oil. So I just think that we can go into how to use the machine as a preventative. But I think when you have a viral component or a bacterial component, ozone can help reduce that load and allow the rest of your body to come around it.
Yeah. So in your opinion, as we look at this pandemic as a whole, are we overreacting or not?
I think that, if you're like some of the politicians have said, God forbid one of your grandparents gets it. When you
Yeah.
have people that are immune compromised, younger people, but there was I guess one I heard about Italy about a few days ago was a guy who was on a ventilator for about 4.5 weeks, and he was 31-year-old athlete. If he wasn't on a ventilator, he probably would have died, right? So, if 31-year-old athlete can get that sick that he needs to be on a ventilator for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, then it's pretty serious stuff, right? It's not just people that are immune compromised. So I think, it is a big step for people to stay isolated. We're such busy,
Yeah.
crazy people. We're don't going here. We got to go to soccer practice. We got to go to, grocery shopping. We've got to go, pick up, this thing, and we have to take this thing, and we have to go. And I mean, I am like, I'm not going to soccer practice anymore, but I can see that, that it's a very busy life, and for us to settle down, I'm trying to, say, what are the projects in my house I really want to do, whether I should, recondent and organize my closet that I've wanted to do for 40 years.
So maybe this is a good opportunity for some of
Yeah.
us, right? To
Organize
say,
my closet, throw everything away. There'll be all these savers and everything. Will have so much clothing for people that have just done minimalizing, that have just said, I'm going to, organize my photos albums that I've been wanting to do when I got a snow day. Well, might have a 14-day snow day that you can get some stuff done, in your home. But grounding yourself, breathing,
yeah,
if you have access to the woods and outside, get outside a little bit to get some
yeah.
fresh air and some vitamin D. Being proactive with nutritional supplementation. It's going to be harder to get as much fresh produce and stuff right now with the grocery stores being a little short on stuff. But try not to eat a lot of sugary stuff. Try to use your food as medicine
Mhm.
and care for yourself.
Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Jonathan.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye bye.